Strange Talk with Doc. Hope everything is going good with you, and I hope everything is going good with yours. The topic of today's show, before we get to the normal show, is way better than me has been rejected. What in the world does that mean, Doc? It means that I don't have an ego, that I am learning to be humble. I am killing my arrogance. But it does not mean that I lack confidence. It's just that I'm fearless of rejection because I'm already knowing the fact that I am really nobody and nothing in the grand scheme of things. So when I get rejected, I always take it, is it rejection or is it just redirection? You know that? Maybe a rejection is redirection. So we don't have to feel bad about being rejected because you're not going to be the first person that's not going to land that job. You're not going to be the first person that's not going to get that woman. You're not going to be the first person that's not going to get that house or apartment. And why do you feel entitled to it? I don't feel entitled to anything. I don't feel entitled to a listener. I don't feel entitled to a subscriber. I don't feel entitled to somebody sharing my comments. But if it happens, it's a beautiful thing. So I just know that when I'm being rejected, that maybe I should look in a different direction. I should start thinking about maybe my game plan ain't as tight as I think it is. And there's nothing wrong with doubting yourself or questioning yourself or correcting yourself. Those are keys to being successful in this world. And if we get rejected and we take it as rejection and you start feeling a certain kind of way inside, you start thinking less than yourself than you should, and you forget that you're a diamond, you're one of a kind, that you're precious, uh, then you're going to have other issues come into play that shouldn't be coming into play. You don't beat yourself up. The world will do that for you. It's more than willing to do that for you. Look around you, the people you work with, the people you grew up with, the people that you hang out with, they'll do that for you. You don't need to do that. You don't need to inflict self harm against yourself. Well, I know that's redundant, but you do not need to harm yourself when there's so many things out there that are willing to harm you. Just refocus, retool, rethink. It's take your time, sit back, make up a different game plan. I look at my numbers on YouTube and I'm never going to be very successful on YouTube. Maybe people will never take to the fact that they're not visually seeing somebody talking to them, that they only get to hear my voice, but they don't really get to see my face. And maybe that's troubling. And see, so I'm more built for the podcast world where I don't need to be seen. I just plant my video on YouTube as just another place to be heard. So the rejection I get there is zero rejection in reality, because if I get 5 listeners or 55 listeners, I take it as a blessing and I move on. And if you have a situation like that in your life, look at it. Tell yourself and ask yourself, how do you feel about it? How do you feel about being rejected by anything? Can you handle it? Or do you go into some kind of deep funk? Get out of any kind of deep funk that you're in. It's not a pleasant place to be. It's nothing positive there. You don't really learn there. That's self-pity. That's a pitiful situation. And you're not born to be pitiful. You're definitely not born to be pitiful. Everybody's not born to be a king, nor is everybody born to be a queen. You have to have some court jesters in this world. But there's nobody who's supposed to be the fool all the time. There has to be sometimes you shine. So remember, way better than you have been rejected. Way better than me have been rejected. It's just taking the redirection. That's the positive point of this message. It's a redirection, not a rejection, people. Okay? So we're going to move on to the regular portion to the show. Thank you very much for listening to that. So we had this guy, Robert Card. Robert Card killed at least 18 people in the mass shootings in several different locations in Lewiston, Maine. It was the deadliest shooting this year. And we've had already 500 recorded mass shootings. Now, it took a couple of days, but Robert Card was eventually found dead. He was found dead, and that ended a manhunt that had people uptight. There was a lot of rumor mills. He had made it into Massachusetts. He got on a jet ski. So this is where you got to be careful where you get your information from. This dude seemed to have really not left the area, but he had left every red flag known possible. He had left it with the people that he served with in the military. He had left it with co-workers. He had left it with family members. He was a walking, talking time bomb, and nobody did anything. Lewiston handled themselves a lot like Mayberry in this situation. I didn't understand. I was looking for press conferences with the mayor or the governor. I really never seen them. I would see this public safety officer who actually on the day of the apprehension seemed like he was in a rush to leave. Well, we'll see you at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. We don't want to really take too many questions. I mean, that's ludicrous. People all over the nation were sending their love and their feelings and worried about his community. And best that he could do was, I'll see you in the morning at 10 o'clock where we'll have a press conference. That one I didn't even bother to tune into because I just didn't like the way I didn't see a command post set up. I didn't see the normal procedure that you have when you have these mass shootings where you see all these cop presence. It was a weird situation. Now, actually, we had a very bad weekend in America. There were at least 6 or 7 mass shootings this weekend that killed 11 people and injured over 40 people at gatherings. I guess you would call them quote unquote Halloween type gatherings across the nation. And Halloween hasn't even arrived. That's officially tomorrow. That's where the parades and the big crowds get together and the people get to walk the street with their masks and etc. Uh, I don't know what we do as a nation. I don't know what we do as a country because that's a $1 billion question that nobody has an answer to. I'm not smart enough to sit here and lie to you that I have an answer. The solution is no guns is not a solution, people. That is a zero answer to this question. But the fact that we have no empathy, no sympathy for other humans' lives, that we're quick to go to this weapon, and I mean quick to go to this weapon when sometimes a punch or a slap or talking to will solve the issue. But we're quick to pull it out, and people do not know how to use their weapons because a lot of injured people get injured who are actually innocent people who have nothing to do with the situation at hand. And I don't know how many minutes, hours, weeks, days people are taking to go to ranges to perfect their skills with firearms, but I'm thinking that it's very limited. And most of the people who are at ranges and things like that probably are not getting involved in situations where they have to even fire their weapon over the course of their entire life. So we had a pilot, this Joseph David Emerson, 44-year-old man. He's in the cockpit of Horizon Air, and this plane is mid-flight, and he decides that he wants to shut the engines off. Now, supposedly, this dude was on magic mushrooms. I don't understand why a pilot would want to mess with his brain function by taking this kind of thing. Now he's sitting with 83 counts of attempted murder. It makes no sense. Once again, stuff like this, if you want to harm yourself, which is a sin and an abomination, the only person that you should ever harm is yourself. I wish Robert Card knew that. I wish Joseph David Emerson knew that. Those people who were aboard that plane might never be able to fly in peace again as long as they live. And they might be businessmen and women who need to fly here, there, and everywhere to handle their business. So I'm not understanding this, man. Don't hurt nobody else that ain't never done nothing to you. Don't ever take an innocent soul with you because you are feeling a certain kind of way. So Mike Johnson, this staunch conservative from Louisiana, is elected the House Speaker. This dude or the GOP in general took 22 days to get a Speaker of the House. Now maybe they can get this shit together and start working on getting us a budget so that this government does not shut down in the beginning of November. That is a key function of what a speaker helps to do. And I hope that this dude can get past his lunacy because he does seem like a very weird individual. If you want to look up Mike Johnson, you do it yourself. He's from Louisiana, as I say. I'm not going to go into that right now. Unless he gives me a reason later, I would like to never mention his name again. Now, they had on Louisiana Highway 158 vehicle pileup. 25 people were injured and at least 7 people died. This was some freak fog type situation, deep, dark fog. I have drove in fog many, many times. I try to give distance, space, and time between me and other vehicles. I want to be able to clearly see the vehicle in front of me, the vehicle on the side of me. I want to have a buffer area where I can stop my vehicle without running into the back of that vehicle. Because if I can't see them, that means somebody cannot see me. People have to be more careful on the roads. Put your fucking phone down while you're driving. Put your fucking phone. If I'm talking to you, I am telling you right now, put your fucking phone down while you're driving. Focus on the road. You're not the president and the most important person on the planet that you need to be in constant contact with other people. It is not a bobo. It's not a pacifier. Use the phone when you got 2 feet underneath you and nothing that you controlling that is moving that weighs tonnage. So we had 2 more people plead guilty in the Trump case in Georgia. Jenna Ellis, who was one of his campaign lawyers, and his ex-chief of staff, Mark Meadows. They both received immunity. They should be testifying against Trump in this Georgia case. It's not looking good for him. These are the third and fourth people to take a plea out of the, I believe it was 18 or 19 people on this indictment. And when you have all these people who are going to come up against you and they already have guilty pleas, it's going to be hard for the main head to walk away with this from this with an innocent plea or innocent verdict. So we lost some people this week. We lost Richard Roundtree at the age of 81. Now, unless you are a black person, you will not understand the importance of Shaft. Shaft was in the 70s. He was the only black superhero who didn't kowtow. He didn't date white women. He was considered good looking by the sisters and a cool ass dude to the brothers. No nonsense. I mean, were these the best movies? No, they were not. But this was about the best that we had. And he meant a hell of a lot to our community back then when this was during the black exploitation film era. But a lot of the characters in these black exploration films were still clowns. And Shaft wasn't a clown. He was a serious dude. He was about his business. He was I guess you would say he was an investigator. And, but he didn't like the cops, so we could relate to that. He dressed nice, we could relate to that. He wasn't a pimp type dude. I mean, you know what? Now, I am not saying Richard Roundtree the man. I know nothing about Richard Roundtree the man. I'm only talking about Richard Roundtree, the character Shaft, and what that meant to our community. And for that, I say rest in peace to him. Richard Moll, known for playing the bailiff Bull Shannon on Night Court, he died at the age of 80. And Matthew Perry from Friends died at the age of 54 years old. Matthew Perry's last couple of years have been tabloid fodder, drugs, alcohol, stuff like that, weight gain. I don't know. There seems to be a hell of a price to pay for fame, a hell of a price to pay for being financially independent in this world. And he paid the ultimate price. It was called his life. I mean, 54 years old, seemingly so much to live for, to pass away, you know, in his home alone, drowning. It's pretty sad, but you know what? He left something on the planet, friends, and people seem to be really gaga for this TV show. I have not really seen Friends. I tried to make it through an episode and I could not. It wasn't for me, it wasn't something that I enjoyed, but I understand that people truly enjoyed it. And you know what? I wish him a rest in peace also. Okay, so we had Michael Cohen testify in Manhattan fraud case against Donald Trump. So Donald Trump was cutting him the eye. This dude was his attorney. So he knows where the bodies are buried financially in the deal, that fraud case in Manhattan. So Trump's got problems in Georgia. Trump's got problems in Manhattan. And Trump will soon have problems in Washington, D.C. This has got to be stressful. All those people think of him as some kind of Superman, and this just is water off a duck's back. It is not. You have never stood in the federal courthouse. You've never seen anybody testify, obviously, in a federal trial. We're talking about this one's going to destroy him maybe financially. The other case could send him to prison, which takes away your freedoms. So, I mean, boy, he is really under the gun and he's being looked at here, there, and everywhere. So we still got this Israel and Hamas thing. Uh, my personal view on this is Israel should cause or ceasefire in any way, shape they can to allow humanitarian aid to get to the innocent people. No women, no old people, no children should furthermore die over in that region. And if they do die because they cannot get basic necessities, that's what's called blood on your hands. And I don't care how you take that. This time I'm not gonna sit here and bullshit anymore with this. Israel is built on being Jewish people, believing in religion, deeply religious people, then let your kindness come through. I didn't say for Hamas. I didn't say for their soldiers or their warriors. You treat warriors like warriors. Warriors are willing to die. That's a deal. But a 4-year old is not a warrior. A 70-year-old woman is not a warrior. She deserves the right to be able to be warm, to be fed, to be clothed, to be sheltered. And I don't care where on the planet that is. I don't care if it's Israel or Arkansas. We have to have some rules of engagement. And there are rules of engagement. We already have war crime documents. And if you violate any of the war crime documents, you should be looked at. I mean, right now, am I going to say that is right that worldwide it seems like most of the world or a lot of the world is having anti Israel protests? People are coming down on them hard. People are seeming to make them the villain. They didn't start this. They did not start this. But how you end something sometimes is just important as how somebody started something. Uh, and if you want to be an example to the world, you can't talk it. You got to be about it. You got to actually show it. You, this is not one of those talk, uh, do as I do and don't do as I say type deals. This has got to be one of those. This is the rock that we stand on, and we're going to show everybody who we are as a people. And they have ample opportunity to do so. So 1031, as we all know, is Halloween. Doc does not do Halloween. I really never did Halloween as a child. I never did it as a teenager, a young adult, and I damn sure I'm not doing it as a middle-aged man. I don't get into evil shit like this. I don't dress up and play Satan for the night. I don't try to invoke evil to be invited into my sphere. I try to stay away from that kind of activity. If you enjoy that, then you enjoy that. but I never understood pretending. I'm not an actor. I don't pretend to be something that I'm not. So I don't take one night out of a week. Oh, no, I'm sorry. One night out of the year to live those fantasies. I don't want to be Dracula. I don't want to be a demon. I don't want to be the dude from Saturday Night Fever. I don't want to be any of those things. I'm not Batman, nor am I the Hulk or any kind of cowboy or anything like that. So I stay me 24/7, 365, and that's where I prefer to be. I am not putting on no makeup. I ain't putting on no wig. I am not, once again, doing anything that I consider to be dark arts. Halloween to me is the dark arts. It's All Hallows Evening. Uh, think about it. It's trick or treat. You can also trick is a part of the slogan. It's not just treats, it's also tricks. I don't want to be a trick. I don't need to trick nobody. So I leave Halloween alone. But if you are into it, once again, be safe. Watch those crowds, especially if you go to parades. Uh, I'm not big on eating things from strangers. I don't believe that kids should be knocking on strangers' doors and begging for treats. What have they done that they might not even be nice enough kids that ever even just say, hello, sir, hello, ma'am. But you're supposed to go out and spend your hard earned money to make sure that they have a pumpkin head full of candy? Why? Why? Isn't that their parents' responsibility? Isn't it safer that they get this stuff from people they loved and total strangers to begin with? So here we go. Sunday, November 5th is going to be daylight saving time. Daylight saving time. So we're going to fall back, which means we get an extra hour. I really don't like this idea. We're not a farming country. Do we need the extra hour of sunlight in the morning? But now women and children are basically coming home from school and work in the dark. I thought we should have banned this a couple of years ago. They had a vote, but once again, they could never come together nonpartisanly to agree with everything or anything because the left and the right hate each other so much that us in the middle suffer. So I watched a little TV this weekend. I watched a good documentary on Milli Vanilli. There was a You probably said, "Oh, I'm seeing a million documentaries on Milli Vanilli." This was a little bit different. You might never have seen this perspective. I thought it was a very good perspective on what happened to Milli Vanilli, how they were targeted, how they were actually used, what they wanted as opposed to what happened. So there's always two sides to the story, and for the most part, we've only heard the one side. This was the opportunity to actually hear the other side. And Dark Side of Comedy on Vice TV kicked off again. And the first episode was on Robin Williams. Robin Williams had a lot of dark shit going on in his life. He had a lot of things that he was dealing with, and laughing and being funny and being on stage at all times really in the long run didn't help him out. I felt bad for him. I felt bad for his wife, and I felt bad for his loved ones. This dark side of comedy really does deal with the dark side of what is going on in these people's lives. And the very next episode is going to be Sam Kinison. You remember Sam Kinison? He wore the like the beret and the long coat, and he was always screaming and hollering, heavy set character. That should be interesting also. I watched American Horror Stories. See, there's two different programs. There's American Horror Story, which really stinks this year, and then there's American Horror Stories. This is a four-part episode they released, I believe, Thursday or Friday, leading up to Halloween. And to me, out of the four, the two best ones to watch is one called Besties and another one called Tapeworm. The episode called Organ and Daphne, I could have did without. I really wished I didn't even have to waste my time watching those two. So just Besties and Tapeworm were worth it. And I also watched a documentary called Get Gotti. This was about, it's a three-parter on, I believe, Netflix. It's about the FBI wanting to get John Gotti and some of the things that they went through and did to capture him finally. Uh, I found out that the United States government will do some trickery that we don't even really think about. Like they actually got America's Most Wanted to come out with a fake episode stating certain things that they knew were not true just to see if Gotti would talk about them in a wired room. I mean, that's just kind of insidious, but the United States government really wanted them. They had lost to the man 3 times, and they was like, we're not losing to him for a fourth time. We got to get this dude. Because he's making fun of us. He's clowning us in the media. He's becoming an icon. He's become, think about it, if the social media was around during John Gotti's days, how big John Gotti would have been. He would have probably had millions of followers. A gangster, killer, psychopath with millions of followers. But that's the world we live in, right? So Dusty Baker finally retired after 26 years as a major league manager and a World Series manager at that. And he also has spent 19 years in the big leagues as a world champion all-star outfielder for the Dodgers and a couple of other teams. So, you know what? I wish Dusty Baker and his Marine Corps ass enjoys his retirement. He's been in that game for what, 45 years as a manager and a player. It's time to walk off into the sunset and enjoy the fruits of your labor, sir. Enjoy the fruits of your labor. So we have the World Series. The Phillies are playing the Diamondbacks in the World's. No, I'm sorry. It's the Texas Rangers versus the Diamondbacks in the World Series, which is tied as I'm speaking right now, 1-1. Now, Adonis Garcia won the ALCS MVP for the Rangers, and Ketel Marte won the National League Championship MVP for the Diamondbacks. I don't have a horse in this race. For those of you who are enjoying the World Series, I hope that you continue to do so. I'm not going to root for the Diamondbacks nor the Rangers. I am only strictly a Yankee fan, so I could care less. But since it's sports and this is big news, it's not like the World Series is some little local yokel softball tournament. I got to at least let you know what's going on in that world. This coming weekend, we are going to have Crown Jewel, WWE Crown Jewel. And on this card, we're going to have the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. Roman Reigns is going up against LA Knight. Roman Reigns does not lose to LA Knight. LA Knight is just in a good spot right now. They're capitalizing on his popularity. I believe this is his very first major pay-per-view, and he's already in a match for the championship against Roman Reigns. I hope he performs well. I hope that they gel well so that they can use this combination again down the road and that nobody poo-poos the bed where this is like, just no chemistry in the ring type deal. I wish them very much luck with this, but Roman Reigns captures. I don't care if it's shenanigans or what they got to do. There's no way he loses the title. Then you got the Women's World Championship, who is Rhea Ripley, and she's going up against Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, Zoe Starks, and Raquel Rodriguez. That's 5 women in the ring at one time. This could be fantastic, or this could be a shit show. I think that there's going to have to be certain points in time where 3 of them are outside the ring and just 2 of them are in there taking care of business. I see Rhea Ripley continue to be the women's world champion. It's not time for her to lose this belt, and she definitely shouldn't lose it to Nia, Shayna, Zoe, or Raquel. Not at this point in time. You're still building something with the Judgment Day. Continue to build on it. You got the World Heavyweight Champion, Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre, there's been a lot of back and forth. Is he going to re-sign with the WWE? Is he going to leave? Am I totally enjoying Seth Rollins' championship reign? No, I thought it should have ended with Sensei Nakamura, but that didn't happen. I don't know if they have Drew actually beat him, but maybe Seth does something shenanigans and Drew becomes a full-on bad guy here. Maybe they've been saving his complete heel turn for this match. And I think that if he does lose, he should fully turn heel, do something dastardly, this way that feud can go on. Then you got the WWE United States Championship, Rey Mysterio versus Logan Paul. I see Logan Paul actually winning the belt, and then maybe Ray recapturing it less than a week later at SmackDown. But I think they want to put this belt on Logan for a minute. Uh, Logan's been on a lot of pay-per-views. He is yet to really have that belt winning match. I mean, he's been nothing but entertaining. I will give him that. Logan Paul is a very entertaining and polarizing character. Uh, I wish him the best, but I see Ray actually losing, and maybe this causes some fiction with the LWO and Logan battles Escobar and Carlitos down the road. Who knows? I believe they added John Cena and Solo Sequoia to this bout. I mean, to this card. John Cena definitely wins Mr. America, the greatest of all time nonsense. He beats Solo Sequoia because John Cena has to have that signature match on a pay per view, which he hasn't been on and won a single match, as he stated, in over 2,000 days, which is a long time. Then we got Cody Rhodes versus Damian Priest. They're not going to have Cody Rhodes losing any matches going forward. I don't believe Cody loses any single matches, because how could you have him in line for Roman Reigns or Seth Rollins if he's coming off of losses on pay-per-views here, losses off pay-per-views there? So Damon Priest is really not going to hurt himself. The only thing that he could do stupid is cash in earlier. And I just thought about that. Damian Priest cashes in his title, Money in the Bank, against Seth Rollins. He becomes the champion. That makes the Cody Rhodes Damian Priest match a title match. Cody Rhodes then beats Damian Priest to become the WWE heavyweight champion. Now, you know what? I I'm going to keep that in mind, and if that prediction comes true, I'm going to post this little segment as my own thought and idea, because it just popped into my brain as I was speaking about it. So good old John Bones Jones is out of UFC 295, which was going to come out of New York on 11/11, Madison Square Garden. Something's always up. This dude just had one fight for maybe 45 seconds in 3 years, and he gets injured before a big pay per view in his home state. Not his hometown, people. He's not from New York proper, he's from New York State. Now, this weekend, after having 2 weeks off, the UFC returns, and it's going to be Gelton Almeida versus Derek Lewis. I had stated this before. It was supposed to be Curtis Blades, but Curtis Blades is not going to be on this card. This is coming from Sao Paulo in Brazil. It's going to be on ESPN Plus. You got Gabriel Bonfim versus Nicholas Dalby. You got who else is on this card? Elvis Bernda is going up against Esteban Ribovich. Uh, Mark Ducases is fighting Kanye Hernandez, or how do they do that over there? It's not Fernandez. It's kind of weird how they switch letters in Brazil. But this is Angela Hill is fighting Denise Gomes. So this should be an interesting card. You know what? Gelton Alameda is a banger. Derek Lewis is a banger. So that should be a good main event. I'm looking forward to it, especially since it's been a couple of weeks since we had a UFC card. Okay. So the NBA decided that they're going to return to the old format for the All-Star game, and it's going to be good old-fashioned East versus West. No more friends of LeBron versus friends of Durant type thing, where captains pick squads. You on the East team or you on the West team? And this All-Star game is going to be coming from Indianapolis. So you know what, fans? You're not going to vote the people in who's most deserving. We already know that it's going to be a popularity contest. The voting for the All-Star game is always a popularity contest, but that's the way it goes. Now, I like to give you what I consider to be my games of the week for the NBA. So tonight, Monday, you got the Miami Heat going up against the Milwaukee Bucks. You're getting to still see Damon Lillard adjusting to life in Milwaukee. You got the Utah Jazz versus the champion Denver Nuggets. Tuesday, you got my San Antonio Spurs with Victor Wembanyama versus the Phoenix Suns. The Suns are coming, no, the Spurs are coming off a 40-point beatdown by the Clippers. This has got to be a rebound game for pride and dignity. And talking about those Clippers, they play Wednesday in the Battle of LA versus the Lakers. The Lakers are 1-2. They're not looking very good. Austin Reeves is overhyped. I don't believe the hype on Austin Reeves. I think he's being upgraded to a level that he did not earn. And then you also have the Cleveland Cavaliers taking on the New York Knicks. Thursday, because they are must-watch TV due to Victor Wembanyama, the San Antonio Spurs are once again playing Phoenix. So if you missed them playing on Tuesday, you get a chance to see Wembanyama play the very same team again on Thursday. And then Friday, you got the Golden State Warriors against the upstart OKC. Dallas Mavericks are taking on the world champ Denver Nuggets. Saturday, you got the Suns versus the 76ers. Sunday, you got Golden State versus Cleveland and Toronto versus my Spurs. So for at least the first couple of weeks, must-see TV until you have seen Wembanyama play at least once or twice. I am going to continue to put Spurs games in my must-see games of the week. Now, the NFL, Thursday, you had the Bills beat the Tampa Bay Bucks 24-18. For once in a long time, Josh Allen got the Bills off to a fast start. So they were winning 17-0, and they held on to win 24-18. Now, these are Sunday's games. The Los Angeles Raiders, Rams played my Cowboys. Dak Prescott threw 4 touchdowns. Deron Bland had his third pick six of the season. This dude's name's got to start coming up in Defensive Player of the Year. And the Cowboys routed the Rams 43-20. CeeDee Lamb had 12 receptions for 158 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Minnesota Vikings played the Green Bay Packers. Kirk Cousins threw 2 touchdown passes before he got injured, but they still held on for a 24-10 victory over the Packers. So for you Minnesota Vikings fan, you got to figure out, is Kirk Cousins a one-day injury, a long-term injury, or season-ending injury? And as of right now, I do not know the answer to that, but we will find out. If he is out for the season, I will talk about that next week on next week's show. The Falcons played the Titans, and the Titans won this game 28-23. The Titans were rocking those old Oilers uniforms, and they were looking fantastic. But the story of this game was Will Levis threw 4 touchdown passes in his NFL debut. And DeAndre Hopkins had 4 catches for 128 yards and 3 touchdowns. Will Levis looked pretty damn good for a dude in his first start. I will say that. The New Orleans Saints played the Indianapolis Colts. The Saints beat the Colts 38-27. Taysom Hill and Alvin Kamara each scored 2 touchdowns. The New England Patriots played the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins was also rocking throwback uniforms, looking damn good. Tua Tagovailoa threw for 3 touchdown passes. Jalen Ramsey had an interception, looked pretty good in his return and his actual debut to the Dolphins. Waddle and Hill both had over 100 yards receiving and a touchdown. The Jets played the Giants in the Battle of New Jersey/New York, and the Jets beat the Giants late in a really ugly overtime game, 13-10. Greg Zuerlein hit a field goal to win the game. Brian Daboll, I'm not understanding him. He knew that Graham Gano might have been injured or at least hurt. And he let Graham Gano go out there and basically blow this game on a game that the Giants defense earned the right to win. I'm not saying either one of these offenses earned the right to win. The Jets defense earned the right to win, and the Giants defense earned the right to win. Grano missed a 35-yarder wide left, and in the second quarter, he missed a 47-yard field goal wide left. I mean, this was near the end of the game, right before regulation. He misses a 35-yard field goal that would have put the Giants up by 6, meaning the Jets would have had to score a touchdown, which seemed virtually impossible. I put this directly on Brian Debo. He couldn't pick up a kicker for a week. They couldn't sign a kicker for just a week, knowing that his offense. And then he wound up losing Tyrod Taylor in this game, and he had to go to a guy named DeVito. So he was on his third quarterback of the season, a team that relies heavily on field goal kickers, and you don't have a field goal kicker to replace your field goal kicker who's been probably exhibiting uh, aches and pains all week long, makes no sense. This is, I don't know how this guy goes from coach of the year to dud of the year in less than a year. The Jacksonville Jaguars played the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh lost Kenny Pickett, their quarterback, to injury, and the Jacksonville Jaguars went on to win this game 20-10. It wasn't spectacular for either one, but the Jags are surprisingly now 6-2. I bet you didn't have that on your bingo card. The Philadelphia Eagles played the Washington Commanders. Hurts threw for 4 TDs, but you could tell that something's going on with his knee. They actually even fumbled one time on that tush push. Uh, the Eagles are now 7-1. Devontae Smith caught a touchdown. Julio Jones caught a touchdown. A.J. Brown went 8 for 132 and 2 touchdowns. The Houston Texans played the Carolina Panthers, which featured the number 1 and number 2 quarterbacks, or the number 1 and number 2 draft picks in the 2023 draft. And Bryce Young received his first victory as a professional. And also, the Panthers received their first victory of the season when they beat C.J. Stroud and the Houston Texans 15-3. Geno Smith threw a late touchdown pass to Jackson Smith Njambe, and the Seahawks beat the Browns with no Deshaun Watson 24-20. Deshaun Watson better find his ass on the football field this next Sunday coming up, or there's going to be problems in Cleveland. The Kansas City Chiefs played the Denver Broncos. Russell Wilson wasn't fantastic, but he did have 3 touchdown passes, and he led the Broncos to their first win over the Chiefs since 2015. Let's repeat that. He led the Broncos to their first victory over their division rivals, the Kansas City Chiefs, since 2015 by the score of 24-9. And it was Mahomes' first loss to Denver after 12 wins, and his first road defeat in the AFC West after winning his first 16 divisional games away from Arrowhead Stadium. This man, Patrick Mahomes, has owned the AFC West since the day he walked in this league. The Baltimore Ravens played the Arizona Cardinals, and Gus Edwards rushed for 3 touchdowns. The Ravens defense held on. The Cardinals are tough. They play you hard. They play you strong, but they are missing some kind of salt, some kind of seasoning to turn them over. I mean, they don't have a lot of big names, but they give you a fight. They're a lot like the Atlanta Falcons. They gut it out with you all the time. That's what they do. But the Ravens held on to win this game 31-24. Like I said, Gus Edwards rushed for 3 touchdowns. The Cincinnati Bengals played the San Francisco 49ers. Joe Burrow threw for 3 touchdown passes to lead the Bengals to a 31-17 victory. This is now a 3-game losing streak for San Francisco 49ers after winning 10 straight games in the regular. No, they had won 10 straight games, 15 straight. I'm sorry. It was 10 last year plus 5 this year. That was 15 straight games they had won. Now they're on a 3-game losing streak. Jamar Chase had 10 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown. McCaffrey also scored on a 2-yard run in the first quarter, giving him at least 1 touchdown in 17 straight games, including the playoffs. That ties an NFL record set by Lenny Moore in the 1963-1964 season. McCaffrey's TD catch in the fourth quarter gave him at least one rushing or throwing one rushing or receiving touchdown in 14 straight games, which is one shy of Marshall Faulk's NFL record. Let me say that again because I don't know where my brain just went. He has now one shy of Marshall Faulk's record for receiving or rushing for a touchdown in 15 straight games. He now has done it 14 straight times. Justin Herbert threw for 3 touchdowns and not a spectacular showing, but a good enough showing to lead the Chargers to a 30-13 victory over the Bears. Tonight's game on Monday Night Football is the Las Vegas Raiders versus the Lions. Detroit has to bounce back. They looked really horrible last week. The Raiders are nothing and nobody. I understand it's any given game, but the Lions are at home. It's a big showcase. It's a Monday night game, something they don't get to do very often. I know they always play on Thanksgiving, but they don't get to be on those premier games, and they have to show that they belong. They have to bounce back, and they have to beat the Raiders down, who are basically just Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs show. I don't even know if Garoppolo is going to be playing tonight. So I got the Lions winning this one big. Now, week 9 is coming up, and the bye weeks for week 9 are going to be the Denver Broncos, the Detroit Lions, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the San Francisco 49ers, who really need time to recoup, reset, refocus. Boy, nobody needs a bye more than they do. And so your Thursday night game is going to be Tennessee going into Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's a hard place to play, but Jacksonville just went in there and won. I don't know if Will Levis can repeat what he did the last game, so I'm going to have Pittsburgh win at home. And then on Saturday, November 5th, we got Kansas City and Miami are going to Germany, Frankfurt, Germany. So if you're even on the East Coast, you wake up to a 9:30 a.m. game. I think Kansas City bounces back as long as Mahomes is recovered from whatever kind of flu-like symptoms that he had, because Miami's not going to be there to joke around, and I'm going to take Kansas City to win this game. The Vikings are going into Atlanta to play the Falcons. I got the Falcons winning this game. I think the Falcons, especially if Kirk Cousins is not playing for Minnesota, will be good enough to win this game. Arizona is going into Cleveland. If Deshaun Watson is playing with Cleveland defense, I believe they have enough to win this game. A game that really stinks for everybody unless you are a fan. The Rams are going into Green Bay to play the Packers. I got the Rams winning this game. I just don't know. It stinks. The Commanders are going into New England to play the Patriots. Both of these teams pretty much stink also, but I'm going to take Washington on the road to beat the Patriots. The Bears are going into New Orleans to play the Saints. I'm going to take the Saints at home. Seattle is going to Baltimore, which should be a tough game, but I'm going to pick the Ravens to win this game. You got the Bucks going into Houston to play the Texans. I'm going to take the Bucks on the road. You got the Colts going into Carolina to play the Panthers. I'm going to take the Colts to win this game. You got the Giants going to Las Vegas to play the Raiders. I'm going to actually take the Giants. I think they refocus, they retool, they get their minds right. And I think that if Saquon Barkley can run the ball and if they get Daniel Jones back, they should have enough to beat the Raiders. You got my Cowboys going into hostile territory in Philadelphia to play the Eagles. I think Dallas has what it takes if they're not overconfident, if they're not feeling themselves too much from that loss Angeles Rams victory to beat Philly and shock them at home. So I'm going to go with that. I'm hoping it's not just my heart, but my head speaking on this one. Your Sunday night football game is a very good one. You got the Bills going into Cincinnati to play the Bengals. I think the Bengals have turned the corner. I'm not very sure about the Bills, especially since they have these slow starts to start off game. I think Cincinnati holds serve at home and they actually beat the Bills. Monday night's game is going to be the LA Chargers versus the New York Jets. The Jets do not have the offense to hang with the Chargers. Justin Herbert should be able to tear the Jets a new ass, throw for 3 touchdowns. Expect to him, Keenan Allen, and Austin Eckler to have big games. Who do the Jets really have offensively? Nobody. You got Garrett and you got Bryce Hall, who's really not had that blowout game he's given us glimpses here and there of a run, but his nothing sustainable. It's nothing that should be scaring anybody. And go back to the opening statement. Way better than me has been rejected. And because way better than me has been rejected, not that I'm putting myself down or you should put yourself down, you just have to put yourself in a proper perspective. Did you earn it? Is it yours? Is it undisputably yours without a question and a doubt? Did you buy it? See, that's when you know it's yours, when you brought it. But if you have not brought it, you have not put in the work, and you're trying to just say that because of who I feel I am, I earned it, and I don't have the right to be rejected, you're fooling yourself because that's when you know that you just need to redirect yourself. I know I made that point over and over, but it's very important. Rejection or redirection. That's all it comes down to. And that's how you look at a situation, how you feel about a situation, how you evaluate a situation. And I'm going to tell you, like I tell you each and every time, people, I appreciate you listening to Strange Talk with Doc. If you would like to share the show, feel free to do so. If you like to comment on the show, I always love to hear from you. If you would like to subscribe to the show, please do that also. Now, it's not a requirement. If this is your first and last time ever hearing me, thank you. If you're going to listen to me again, thank you. I appreciate you, and I wish that you and yours would have a blessed and peaceful week. So, peace to you and peace to yours.